Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namah Vishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavare Pashachare Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavare Pashachare Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrina Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrina Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrina Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrina Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrina Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrina Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Rama
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare,
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Jaya Parama Karuna, Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra, Jaya Parama Karuna, Jaya Nitai Gora Chandra,
Parama Karuna Jaya, Nitai Gaura Chandra Jaya, Parama Karuna Nitai Gaura Chandra,
Jaya Advaita Charya, Jaya Advaita Charya, Jaya Advaita Charya, Jaya Advaita Charya,
Jaya Advaita Charya, Jaya Advaita Charya, Jaya Advaita Charya, Jaya Advaita Charya,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Hare Krishna, Shri Advaita Acharya ki. So we're doing Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, Hoya Kora More. Tuma bina ke dayalo jagata samsari. So Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu, very special bhajan. Part of this bhajan is praying for the mercy of Srila Advaita Acharya. As we welcome you all here this morning, those of you who are joining us virtually and those of us who are here. Today is the glorious appearance of Srila Advaita Acharya. Shortly we will be hearing the pastimes of pastime of Srila Advaita Acharya. So, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Dhoya Kora More Thuma Bina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsari. So the translation. My dear Lord Chaitanya, please be merciful to me, because who can be more merciful than your Lordship within these three worlds? Patita Pavana Hetu Tava Avatara Mosama Patita Prabhu Napai Bi Ara. Your incarnation is just to reclaim the conditioned fallen souls. But I assure you that you will not find a greater fallen soul than me. Therefore, my claim is first. Then he turns to Lord Nityananda. Haha Prabhu Nityananda, Prema Ananda Sukhi, Kripa Balu Khana Koro, Ami Bora Doki. My dear Lord Nityananda, you are always joyful in spiritual bliss. Since you always appear very happy, I have come to you because I am most unhappy. If you kindly put your glance over me, then I may also become happy. Doya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai, Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai. My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be merciful to me. If you are kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda will also be kind to me. Then he turns to the Goswami. Haha Swarupa Sanatana Rupa Raghunatha Bata Yuga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanatha. O Swarupa Damodar, personal secretary of Lord Chaitanya. O six Goswamis, O Sri Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami and Sri Raghunatha Das Goswami. O Lokanath Goswami, my beloved spiritual master, Narottam Das also prays for your mercy. And then finally, Dhoya Koro Sri Acharya Prabhu Srinivas Ramachandra Sangamange Narottama Dasa. O Srinivas Acharya, successor of the six Goswamis, please be merciful to me. Narottam Das always desires the company of Ramachandra Chakravarti. So Prabhupada said that he always desired the company of the Lord's devotee. That is the desire. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Doya Koro More.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More.
Kanya Prabhu Doya Koro More.
Tuma bina ke doyalo Jagata samsara.
Toma vina ke doyalo Jagata samsare.
Patita pavana hetu Tavaya Avataro.
Patita pavana hetu Tava Avatara.
Patita Pavana Hetu Tavaya Avataro
Patita Pavana Tavavatara
Mosama Patita Prabhu Napai Vihara
Samapatita Prabhu Napai Vihara
Mutsamapatita Prabhu Napai Vihara
Mosamapatita Prabhu Napai Vihara
Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi
Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi
Ha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi
Aha Prabhu Nityananda Premananda Sukhi
Kripa Balokana Koro Ami Varaduki
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 Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kara Mori Shri
Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Doya Koro More
Tuma Bina Ki Doyalo Jagata Samsari
Toma Vina Ke Doyalo Jagata Samsari
Doya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai
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 Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai
Tava Kripa Vale Pai Chaitanya Nitai
Tava Kripa Bale Pai Chaitanya Nitai
Tava Kripa Vale
Dear Advaita Acharya, if you are kind upon me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda will also be kind upon me. Asarup Sanatana Rupa Raguna
Raghunatha
Bhatta Yoga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanath
Bhatta Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanath
Bhatta Yoga Sri Jiva Prabhu Lokanath
Bhatta Juga Shri Jivaha Prabhu Lokanath
Doya Koro Shriya Chaya Prabhu Srinivas
Prabhu Srinivas
Ramachandra Sangamange Narottamada
Ramachandra Sangamage Narottamada
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Kora More
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Koro More
Tuma bina ke doyalo Jagata samsari
Toma vina ke doyalo Jagata samsari
Doya koro shriya Doya koro sitapati Advaita Gosai
Doya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai
Jaya Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai
Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai
Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai
Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya
Srila Advaita Acharya ki Doya Koro Sitapati Advaita Gosai. Advaita Prabhu's wife's name was Sita. Therefore, she is sometimes addressed as Sitapati. Thus, Narottama Das prays, My dear Advaita Prabhu, husband of Sita, you are so kind. Please be kind to me. If you are kind to me, then naturally, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda will also be kind to me. Actually, Advaita Prabhu invited Lord Chaitanya to come down. When Advaita Prabhu saw the fallen souls were all engaged simply in sense gratificatory processes, not understanding Krishna consciousness, he felt very much compassionate towards them and he also felt himself incapable of claiming them all. He therefore prayed to Lord Krishna, please come yourself. Without your personal presence, it is not possible to deliver the fallen souls. Thus, by his invitation, Lord Chaitanya appeared. Naturally, Narottama Das Thakur prays to Advaita Acharya, if you will be kind to me, naturally Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda will also be kind to me. Shri Advaita Gosai Ki. Hari Hadaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Retranslation. So this is Nama Sankirtana, Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. O Lord Hari, O Lord Krishna, I offer my obeisances to you, who are known as Yadava, Hari, Madhava, and Keshava. O Gopala, Govinda, Rama, Sri Madhusudana, Giridhari, Gopinath, and Madana Mohan. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Nityananda, all glories to Sri Advaita Acharya and his consort, Sri Sita Thakurani. All glories to Lord Hari, to the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas, Srimad Bhagavatam and Srimad Bhagavad Gita. All glories to Srila Rupa Goswami, Sri Sanatana Goswami, Sri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Sri Jiva Goswami, Sri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, and Sri Raghunath Das Goswami. I offer my obeisances to the feet of these 6 Goswamis. By offering them my obeisances, all obstacles to devotion are destroyed and all spiritual desires are fulfilled. I am the servant of that person who is a servant of these 6 Goswamis. The dust of their holy feet is my 5 kinds of foodstuffs. This is my desire, that birth after birth I may live with those devotees who serve the lotus feet of these 6 Goswamis. When these 6 Goswamis lived in Braj, they revealed the lost holy places and explained the eternal pastimes of Sri Radha and Krishna. Absorbing your mind in meditation upon the divine feet of the spiritual master and the holy Vaishnavas, chant the names of Lord Hari in great ecstasy and worship the transcendental realm of Vrindavan. Desiring to serve the lotus feet of Sri Guru and the Vaishnavas, Narottam Das sings this Sankirtan of the holy names of Lord Hari. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha.
Hariharaya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namah Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah.
Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan. Gopal Govinda Ram
Shri Madhusudan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita.
Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita.
Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita.
Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhata Raghunath.
Shri Rup Shri Sanatana Bhata Raghunath.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhata Dasa Raghunath.
Shri Jiva Gopala Bhata Dasa Raghunath.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Krishna Yadavaya Namah.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha.
Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namah.
Echai Gosai Koriya Charana Vandan. Jaha hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran. Jaha hoite Vignanas Abhishta Puran. Echai Gosai Jar Mohitar Dhat.
Echai Gosai Jar Mohitar Dhat.
Tasa Bhara Padareno Mora Panchagras.
Tasara Padareno Mora Panchagras.
Tarira Charana Sebi Bhakta Sanibas.
Tarira Charana Sebi Bhakta Sanibas.
Tarira Charana Sebi Bhakta Sanibas.
Tarira Charana
Janame Janame Hoye Mila.
Janame Janame Hoye.
Echai Gosai Jabe Braje Koile Bhas.
Chai Gosai Jabe Braje Koile Bhas.
Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash.
Radha Krishna Nitya Leela Korila Prakash.
Anande Bholo Hari Baja Vrindavan.
Ananda Bolo Hari Baja Vrindavan.
Anande Bholo Hari Baja Vrindavan.
Ananda Bolo Hari Baja Vrindavan.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pare Majiyama.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Pare Majiyama.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Para Padma Koriya.
Guru Vaishnava Kori Padma Koriya.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Para Padma Koriya.
Shri Guru Vaishnava Kori Padma Koriya.
Nama Sankirtan Kohe Narotamaran.
Sankirtana Kori Narottamana.
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita. Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita. Hare Raya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Gosai Advaita Gosai Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Panchatattva Jaya Panchatattva
Jaya Panchatattva
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada
Gaurachandra ki Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Jaya Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari
गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी
Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari
Yashodanandan Vrajajanaranjan
Shuranandana Brajajanaranjan
Yamunatira Vanachari
Munatira Vanachari
Yamunatira Vanachari
Munatira Vanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
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 Jaya Jaya Advaita Chandra Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda
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 Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
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 Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya
Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya
Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya
Jaya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita Acharya Advaita Acharya Jaya Advaita
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada
Jaya Prabhupada Shri Advaita Acharya ki Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So today, as we know, is a very auspicious day. Today is the appearance day of Srila Advaita Acharya. I'm sure many of us are familiar with the name Advaita Acharya. And his appearance is a very special one. And this incarnation of Advaita Acharya is also a very special incarnation. So before we begin honoring such wonderful incarnation, we'd like to do Mangala Charana and a few prayers in glorification. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitamscha Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Nama Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, 1 minute. So there's another pranam mantra, the Shri Panchatattva pranam mantra. I'm sure we all know, so we can recite. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. Translation: I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Krishna, who is non-different from his features as a devotee, devotional incarnation, devotional manifestation, pure devotee, and devotional energy. Shri Panchatattva ki. There are a few verses here also. Well, now you may be wondering why we are doing so much prayers. So this is a very special day in our Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And Srila Advaita Acharya is a very, 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 very special incarnation. So there are 3 more pranam mantras we will recite in glorification of Sri Advaita Acharya. Srila Advaita Gurum Vande Harinadvaitam Evatam Prakashitam Param Brahma Yovatirna Kshitau Hari. I offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Sri Advaita Prabhu, who is non-different from Lord Hari. He induced the Supreme Lord Hari to manifest in this world. Anta Krishnam Bahir Goram Krishna Chaitanya Samjnakam Premabdhim Satchidanandam Sarvashaktashrayam Bhaje. I worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is outwardly of a fair complexion, but is inwardly Krishna himself. He is an ocean of love, eternally full of knowledge and bliss, and the origin of all energies. Shri Nityananda Ramam hi Dayalum Prema Deepakam Gadadharam cha Srivasam Vande Radheshar Sevinam. I offer my obeisances unto Sri Nityananda Ram, who is most merciful and who illuminates love of God. I offer my obeisances to Gadadhar and Srivas, who are engaged in the service of in the service of the Lord of Radharani. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Shri Advaita Acharya ki jai, Shri Gadadhar Pandit ki jai, Shri Srivas Thakur ki. Okay. So there is a picture on our altar, standing on our left or far left, of the Sri Panchatattva. And these 5 personalities are our saving grace. And they are the only reason we are here today. And especially the reason why we are here today is because of Sri Advaita Acharya. Because without Sri Advaita Acharya, no one would have prayed for Lord Chaitanya to come, and Lord Chaitanya would not have come. And yadi gaura na hoito, tabe ki hoito, what would have happened to us if Lord Chaitanya was not there? And if Lord Chaitanya was not there, then yadi Prabhupada no hoito, tabe ki hoito. Kemone should, I can't remember the next line, but anyways. Yeah, what would have happened if Srila Prabhupada had not come? So without the mercy of Sri Advaita Acharya, we would not have gotten the mercy of Lord Nityananda. Without the mercy of Lord Nityananda, we can't get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And without the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, none of this is possible. And without the mercy of our Guru Maharajas, then we cannot access the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. So our Guru Parampara are full of such wonderful qualities, personalities, with good qualities. And these personalities are worth worshipping because they are immersed in the ocean of transcendental bliss. Just like the 6 Goswamis. Without them, we would not have gotten this wonderful Bhakti Shastri course that we are doing. The nectar of instruction, nectar of devotion. And we would not have gotten Vrindavan Dham. So all of these wonderful personalities are in our Vaishnava Parampara. And it is our good fortune, causeless mercy has been showered upon us to be related to such personalities. And when we say related, we don't mean far off relatives. They are very close to us. All of these acharyas, it's like you have a storehouse of jewelry that you can use to decorate yourself. It may be a faulty example, analogy, but there's a storehouse of jewelry that you can access, but you're keeping it in the garbage dump. So it's useless. It's a useless waste. It's useless. It's not utilizing the jewelry to its maximum capacity. So, how do we access the mercy of these great personalities? It's by knowing about them. If we don't know them, then we won't feel any connection. There is no connection that is there. So it is important for us to know and understand these personalities. And one such personality is Sri Advaita Acharya. Many, like for instance, our festival here today, although it's a festival, it's not celebrated here in our temple as a big celebration. It's not. We don't want to compare, but let's say to Janmashtami, it's not the same celebration. It's just a few of us here, very intimate setting. But these festivals, we can't judge them based on the amount of persons that are present. That is not what's important. Just like Radhashtami is hardly celebrated in comparison to Janmashtami. But why is that? Some festivals are more intimate than others. And only if the Vaishnava Acharyas bless us, then we can be able to properly honor and actually celebrate the festivals. And we are fortunate that a few of us are here, and whoever are present online on virtual platforms to celebrate such wonderful festivals in glorification. We are no one to glorify such great personalities. I myself am not qualified, but it is said by glorifying Sri Advaita Acharya, because he's the incarnation of a very special personality, two very special personalities. It's amazing. The personality of pure goodness and the personality of all auspiciousness. So if pure goodness and auspiciousness comes together, how auspiciously good is that? So Sri Advaita Acharya, he appeared in the year 1434 AD in our Western calendar in the village of Navagram. And there's a great story behind this. His father's name was Kuvera Pandit, and his mother's name is Labha Devi. Now, Kuvera Pandit is an incarnation of Kuvera, the actual Kuvera, treasurer of the Devatas. And why this is so is because he is a dear friend of Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva once blessed him that, one day, I think Kuvera, I'm not clear on the pastime, but it's something to the effect of this. Maybe someone can correct me, or you can do your research and correct me later. But Lord Shiva, I think, promised Kuvera to become his child. Or Kuvera asked him for that boon. And that is how Kuvera came as Kuvera Pandit. And he got Advaita Acharya, who is a partial expansion of Lord Shiva also. So Advaita Acharya, we already spoiled it. He gave us spoiler that he is the incarnation, partial expansion of Lord Shiva. And we know Lord Shiva is no ordinary personality. He is the personified form of all auspiciousness. The very word Shiva means all auspicious. And we know there's bhajan Ekona Bojinu Prabhu, where Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that Tomare, that I can't remember the exact line, but he said that by worshipping your lotus feet, Lord Shiva, Shivatva Labhiya, that Lord Shiva gained the title Shiva. He actually made his title worthy of having by worshipping your lotus feet, because your lotus feet is auspicious. And anyone who associates with your lotus feet also becomes auspicious, because his feet is like a touchstone. The Lord is like a touchstone. Anyone he touches, anything he touches, even poison, putana, becomes all auspicious and pure. So Advaita Acharya, he is an expansion of Mahavishnu and Lord Shiva together. And we know this popular form, Harihara. And we have our own Harihara Prabhu here. I don't know if he's watching. But so Harihara is combination of Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu. How did this form come about? This form came about, Lord Shiva once was wondering, how can I help these? He saw Kali Yuga filled with terrible sins, and we don't have to elaborate. We know what's going on around us, COVID-19 and all of among other things. So he was wondering, how can I deliver the living entities? Lord Shiva, we know, is especially merciful. Why? Because he doesn't just deal with gross material bodies. He also deals with the subtle ones. He also deals with ghostly beings. It is not that we are deriding Lord Shiva's position by saying that he's dealing with ghostly beings. That does not diminish his position in any way. It is actually a glorification of Lord Shiva. Why? Because he's a great Vaishnava, great devotee. By his association, it is said by the association, even a moment's association with a pure devotee, it's like visiting all the holy places of pilgrimage. And as moment's association, they're just by their footstep, they can purify an entire place. And a moment's association can purify us also. So imagine ghostly beings. What is their position? Very sad position, right? They don't have a body in which they can perform devotional service with. So Lord Shiva, out of mercy, is giving them association. Such mercy. None of us wants to associate with a ghost, right? But Lord Shiva, he does that for their benefit only. So while wandering like this, he is discussing with Yoga Maya. And by the way, this isn't Lord Shiva within our planet, right? This is a different Lord Shiva. If there's a description in the Srimad Bhagavatam, this entire, in the Brahma Samhita, the layout of the universe. And 1 minute. Yeah. So, Lord Shiva, he, yes, we were discussing which Lord Shiva it is that we are speaking about. So it isn't, there are two versions of Lord Shiva. Or many versions of Lord Shiva, but there are two main versions, two types of Lord Shiva. The Lord Shiva, that's the Guna avatar, or the form that is representing the mode of ignorance. That does not mean that Lord Shiva is in the mode of ignorance. He's just in charge of that specific mode. That he helps living entities within that mode of ignorance to attain perfection, to reach Krishna eventually. There's the Guna avatar Lord Shiva, and then there's Sadashiva. Sadashiva, he is residing in the Vaikuntha planets, just below the Vaikuntha planets, in Kailash, eternal Kailash, not the Kailash in this material world. This Kailash and this Sadashiva is outside of all of these universes. There are so many universes. Within each universe, there is a Lord Shiva. There's a Lord Brahma and there's a Lord Vishnu. So you can imagine how many Lord Shivas there are. But we're speaking about the original Lord Shiva, from whom all the Shiva expansions come from. Sadashiva, in the eternal Kailash. So this Sadashiva, he is having a discussion with Yoga Maya, who is Durga Devi, the original Durga Devi, the external energy of the Lord. They're having a discussion on how he can possibly deliver the living entities. I'm at a bad angle here. 1 minute. I'll move the camera. Yes, so now I can see everyone. I don't have to turn. Yeah. So, Lord Shiva, having this conversation with a Yoga Maya, eventually came to the conclusion that he needs to contact Lord Vishnu. So he picks up his iPhone, says, "Hey Siri, call Vishnu." No, he doesn't do that. He goes and he does 700 years of meditation. And eventually, Lord Vishnu appears to him. And they're in great ecstasy of seeing one another. And Lord Vishnu says, "You and I are non-different except for our separate bodies." And like that, they embrace one another. And from this embrace comes the form of Harihara, half Lord Shiva and half Vishnu. Very special form, very beautiful form also. There's a beautiful deity of Harihara. Maybe you can check on Google. It's available. So, this form, while they both merged into this one form of Harihara, one voice came, Krishna, as they were chanting the names of Krishna. Krishna said that don't worry, that you'll appear together as Advaita Acharya in the age of Kali to deliver the fallen souls. So like that, this form of Advaita Acharya was prophesied way before. Now we fast forward to the appearance of Advaita Acharya, who is also Mahavishnu. Let's discuss the Mahavishnu part, because it gives great context. So we also already discussed Lord Shiva and his mercy. Lord Shiva is extremely compassionate because he is giving his association even to ghostly beings whom no one wants to associate with. So that is the level of his compassion. Now let's discuss the level of Lord Vishnu's compassion. So this is a more complicated subject. We know anything related to Krishna is very complicated because he's a very mysterious character, right? One of the qualities of the Lord is that he's grave. Grave doesn't mean that he's serious, but that he's mysterious. You can't predict what he's going to do next. So the Lord Krishna, residing in Goloka Vrindavan, let's give a picture of this, right? So you have Krishna, right? Krishna, this is before creation of the material worlds. Right? We are not, the material world isn't created as yet. No universes are present. Nothing is there. Just the spiritual world and Goloka Vrindavan, the eternal spiritual planets. Lord Krishna is there. He expands as Balaram. Balaram then expands into 4 other forms. It's called the Chaturvyuha. From that Chaturvyuha comes Lord Narayana, who we know is residing in Vaikuntha, the spiritual planets. Then, from Lord Narayana comes another 4 expansions, another Chaturvyuha, the second Chaturvyuha. Now, I wouldn't list the names of the personalities in the Chaturvyuha, or else we'll get confused. But you can research in Bhagavatam, it is there. One of the personalities in the Chaturvyuha is Sankarshan. And from Sankarshan comes Mahavishnu, who is residing in the causal ocean. So there's Goloka Vrindavan, there's Ayodhya Dham, Mathura, all of Vaikuntha, then Kailash. And then after Kailash, there's this huge river. Right? Let's think of it in like a descending format, right? So there's Golok Vrindavan, Vaikuntha, Kailash, where Sadashiva is residing. Then there is the Karana ocean, the causal ocean, which emanated from the body of Lord Vishnu. He wanted to lay down, so he just, from his perspiration, this ocean came. There's another story of how the ocean came. We will not get into that, a very esoteric story. So Mahavishnu, he lies down in that ocean, and he begins to sleep. Right? But his sleeping is not like our sleeping. His sleeping is called Yoga Nidra. So while he is sleeping, he has to inhale and exhale, right? He doesn't have to, but he's inhaling and exhaling. From him, inhaling and exhaling comes about. So while he's exhaling, from his pores, imagine he's sleeping, right? This is how powerful he is. He's sleeping. We can say that he's not, from a material perspective, when we are sleeping, we aren't exactly conscious of what we are doing. Right? Some of us might sleepwalk in our sleeps. But Lord Vishnu, Mahavishnu, he's sleeping there. While he exhales, all of these universes comes out of his pores. So you can imagine how huge Mahavishnu is. How many pores must be there on his body? So how many universes must be there? They said that, quoting Radhanath Maharaj, says it come out from his pores also. We know the picture is there, Mahavishnu, and there's so many universes emanating from his lotus feet, and his lotus hands, and his lotus, all of his limbs, his lotus limbs. So Mahavishnu's there, he's exhaling, all of these planets come out. Now, you might wonder, right, when he inhales back, these planets go in back. Now, think about this, right? Time is relative. Relativity theory comes into effect here. This is the origin of the theory of relativity. So what's the theory of relativity? I'm standing here, a plane passes by in front of me. It seems like a split second for me, but the person in the plane, this is just a simple example, the person in the plane might see me for a longer time. So in a sense, time is longer for the person in the plane, while for me, it's shorter for that span, for that moment that the plane is passing, right? So the plane passes, zoop, the person in the plane might see me for a bit longer. Like you see a plane is passing above. When you're in the plane, you hear the plane is going so fast, but like you only see it's moving so slow. You might be wondering why. So time is relative like that. So you imagine that we exist, right? Let's not get into the whole description of so many yugas and how many rotations of the yugas. Let's just think about our lifetime. It's contained in one inhalation and exhalation of Mahavishnu. How insignificant are we? So imagine that powerful Mahavishnu creates time. He glances at these universes, and by his glance, the Big Bang happens. All of these material elements come into action. Right? They started all of the material. You can say let's say evolution happens from there, from a scientific point of view. Not their point of view, but you get it. The rotation of the 8,400,000 species of life happen. All of these things happen. Yoga Maya, the 3 modes of material nature, every single thing, 5 elements happens. We come about. Why does all of this happen? Because we, rebellious living entities, wicked people, wanted to enjoy separately from Krishna. So the Lord has to do all of this work just for us to enjoy. And he has then, within each of these universes, Mahavishnu then expands himself again in each universe as Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, lying at the bottom of the universe, which he again fills with his sweat. Right? He lies there, Brahma comes out of his navel, creation begins. Then the Lord also expands as Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, resides on the ocean, the milk ocean, and is also present in each and every one of us' hearts. Why does he do this? Because he loves us. We can't do anything without his sanction, and he doesn't want to leave us alone. So he comes with us in our hearts, a very, very intimate part of us, our hearts. So the Lord is there as out of his love, as the eternal Father, right? But because we are here, trapped, conditioned souls, going through the cycle of birth, death, disease, old age, birth, death, disease, old age, birth, death, disease, old age, in various bodies, doesn't necessarily have to be a human body. It can be a worm, a crapo, something, right? Birth, death, disease, old age. The Lord, he wants us to go back to him in Goloka Vrindavan. So how would he do such a thing? He created this material world. So he comes in the material world to show us how we can get out of the material world. He is the creator of the prison. He's so-called the president. You can't contact the officers, the warden, to let you out of the prison. You need to go to the president. If the president visits the prison and he says, release this prisoner, then you can release, right? You can't contact the prison warden or the prison managers. They don't have that kind of power. You need to contact Mahavishnu. So we go to Mahavishnu. Mahavishnu teaches us how to come out of this material world. How does he teach us? He comes as Advaita Acharya. Him and Lord Shiva. They both come as Advaita Acharya out of their causeless mercy. So you can imagine that amount of mercy contained in one body. So in that prayer that we said, Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhakta Rupa Sarupakam. So Advaita Acharya is Bhakta Avatar, the incarnation of devotion. So there are two parts to Advaita Acharya's name, and that is Advaita and Acharya. Lord Advaita Acharya. Advaita means non-different from Lord Hari. But Acharya means the personified form of devotion, incarnation of devotion, teaching us by example. So now that we have context on who Advaita Acharya is, today we can say is the appearance of Mahavishnu and Sadashiva, Harihara, in the form of Advaita Acharya. Beautiful golden complexion, fair golden complexion. So Advaita Acharya has appeared today. Haribol! Ki Jai! Shri Advaita Acharya Ki Jai! Shri Advaita Acharya Ki Jai! So today is a very special day, now that we have context. So Advaita Acharya, when he appeared in this village of Navagram, there's an interesting pastime that occurs when, he was, of course, you can imagine when Mahavishnu appears. What a personality, what a child that would be. Everyone is totally fascinated and in love with him. He was the star of the village. He's very respectful, very learned. He mastered, you can imagine, Mahavishnu, the source of all knowledge, has to go and learn something. So he learns everything like that quickly. And by the very young age, he mastered grammar, every single thing. Mastered, totally, to the highest extent. While he was small, he was friends with king's son, the king at that time in India, and there were many Muslim rulers. The Mughal rulers had invaded India, and they were ruling different parts. But under their rule, there were other kings that were Hindus, so to speak. Let's classify like that. So they were Hindus, like that. But there's the higher Nawab, who these small-time kings report to. And the king that was ruling that specific area in which Lord Shri Advaita Acharya appeared, he had a son, and Advaita Acharya was friends with this little boy. But this king happened to be an ardent worshipper of Srimati Durga Devi, Goddess Durga. So there's a big temple of Mother Durga there. And usually when you go in front of a deity, you offer your obeisances. So one day they were playing, Advaita Acharya and his prince friend. They were playing and they ran into their ball went into the temple, and while they both ran into the temple to get their ball, but they were cultured little boys, so they knew that they had to offer their obeisances. So the prince offered his obeisances, but Advaita Acharya stood there. He didn't offer his obeisances. Why didn't he offer his obeisances? Because that's his wife. Durga Devi is his wife. Durga Devi is the wife of Lord Shiva. And if the wife obviously would not allow her husband to offer obeisances unto her, and that is not auspicious. So Advaita Acharya avoided this. So the boy was like, no, you have to offer obeisances, you have to offer obeisances. You know, little children, they were quarreling amongst one another. So the boy goes back to his father and reports to him. And the king comes and stipulates that you have to offer obeisances. And Advaita Acharya says no. At that time, his name was Kamalaksha. His parents named him Kamalaksha. Why? Because he had beautiful lotus eyes. Aksha means eyes, and Kamala means lotus flower. So because he had beautiful lotus eyes, his name Kamalaksha. So Kamalaksha and his friend is there. The king comes, orders Kamalaksha to offer obeisances. And as soon as Kamalaksha offers obeisances, the deity of Mother Durga bursts open. Huge thunder. And there was famine for ages. For a long time in that village. The deity of Mother Durga just destroyed itself at that set point in time. So that then they realized something is this boy is very special. So Kuvera Pandit and his wife Laba Devi, they moved out of Navagram, and eventually, as Kuvera Pandit was also elderly in age, he passed away while Advaita Acharya was very young. So both his parents passed away, and Advaita Acharya, he went to Gaya to do the final rites of his parents. After he finished that, he went on pilgrimage to many holy places, and he came to Vrindavan. And at that time, we know this Madan Mohan deity that was carved by Vajranab, the grandson of Krishna. The deity became lost after so many years. Vrindavan was just like a bush forest. No one was there. No temples were found or anything. Advaita Acharya, he found this deity of Madan Mohan. And he gave it to one of his disciples, and that disciple later on gave it to Sanatan Goswami, who built this beautiful Madan Mohan temple. So then Advaita Acharya, he went to Mithila, then eventually he settled down in Shantipur. So Advaita Acharya, he then married Sita Thakurani, Mother Sita Thakurani, and they had several children, one of whom I think was Achyutananda, was his son. Anyway, so once Madhavendra Puri, he came to visit Sri Advaita Acharya, because Sri Advaita Acharya was he was known all over Navadvip and Shantipur as a very learned personality, and everyone was buzzing about Advaita Acharya. So Madhavendra Puri, he wanted to reach this great personality. He comes there, and during that meeting, Advaita Acharya takes shelter of Madhavendra Puri and becomes his disciple. So we know Lord Nityananda is also a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the disciple of Madhavendra Puri's disciple, Ishwara Puri. So once, I think we'll finish with this pastime. Once Sri Haridas Thakur came to visit Advaita Acharya. So now we know Haridas Thakur is no ordinary personality. We know the pastime of him being beaten in 22 marketplaces, right? 22 marketplaces. And we know that at the end of that 22 marketplaces, he didn't die because Lord Chaitanya was protecting him. But the whippers, the persons who were the prosecutors who were punishing him, they pleaded to him that if you don't die, then Nawab will punish us. So Haridas Thakur, out of compassion for these two prosecutors, He immersed himself in samadhi. Everyone thought he was dead. They took his body, threw him inside the ocean, in the river, and eventually he came back to consciousness, and he began preaching in another village somewhere. We also know the story of the Nawab sending a prostitute to Haridas Thakur to disturb him from his bhajan, from his meditation. But Haridas Thakur was so powerful, he converted the prostitute to a devotee, made her shave her head, and initiated her. She started chanting, and she made her own disciples also. So Haridas Thakur, like that, he made a lot of disciples all over. So he came to visit Advaita Acharya. And together, they enjoyed so many pastimes, and they were very happy in each other's company. So one day, Advaita Acharya was celebrating Shraddha ceremony. And because Advaita Acharya was very so-called like a very popular personality in Navadvip area, all of the Brahmanas, the so-called high-class Brahmanas, caste system was very was at its peak then. So all these Brahmanas, they were there, and they all wanted to be present at that Shraddha ceremony. So why did they want to be present there? You know, when there's a popular event, all of the elites want to be there, and everybody, the big people, everyone who's everyone who, what's the phrase? The you-know-who's, something like that. The well-to-dos or some. Anyways, I can't remember the phrase. So everyone who is who, something like that. Anyways, whatever. The high-class persons, they all want to be at a big event. So these Brahmanas, they wanted to be there out of prestige. So when it was time for prasadam, Advaita Acharya, he did something very, very special. Now Haridas Thakur, he wasn't born in a high-class Brahmana philosophy. He was considered by those Brahmanas as a low-class, low-born Malecha, because he was born in a Yavana family. He was born a Muslim. He wasn't even born a Hindu, much less a Brahmana. So these Brahmanas, they looked down upon Haridas Thakur, but we know Haridas Thakur is Namacharya. So Advaita Acharya, he offered the honor of giving the first prasadam onto Haridas Thakur in the presence of all of these elite Brahmanas. And you can imagine the caste system, right? You could put yourself in those Brahmanas' shoes, and you feel that you're some big high-class Brahmana because you were born Brahmana, right? And no one can topple you from your position. And you know this scripture, that scripture, every single thing. And I am this, I am that. I have got my big Brahmin thread. They probably had a long cord around their necks, right? Ready for prasadam. And Advaita Acharya gives the first prasadam to a low-born, low-class Mlecha? No, this is unacceptable, right? They were very angry at this. Some people were surprised. Some people were angry. They didn't even know what to think about themselves, right? So Haridas Thakur, out of his humility, he said, how can you offer me something like this? I'm not worthy of such honor. I was born in a low-class family. Advaita Acharya says, no. By the power of your devotion, by feeding you, it's like feeding 10 million Brahmanas. And why does Advaita Acharya say this? So devotional service, referring to nectar of devotion, devotional service is free from all conception of jnana and karma. And karma, we can also, our birth is also a result of our karma. So if devotional service is to be free from karma, then devotional service does not depend on our birth. Right? It does not depend on our wealth. It does not depend on our position. Because if it were so, then all of these high-class persons would be great devotees. Of course, they can be great devotees, but they are not necessarily born great devotees. There are some special cases. But if that were the case, then we have no chance. We are not born that rich, in such a rich, high-class family. So what is our hope if that's the principle? But that is not the case. Devotional service does not depend on all of these things. It does not depend on your janma, your birth, your wealth, aishwarya, your shruta, your education, and your opulence. Does not depend on any one of these things. What it depends upon is the nature of your devotion. And what is the nature of devotion? It's that it should be anyavilashita shunyam. Should be unmotivated, without any ulterior motive, without any other motives. Free from ulterior motives. Unmotivated, uninterrupted, pure love. That is love. So there's a description that what is real love? When all of these fancy things wear off, the so-called rush, what remains after that? That is love. That is the definition in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So what remains after that should be pure, unmotivated, unalloyed love. Unalloyed means, alloy means you mix something, right? The metal alloys and all these things. So unalloyed means it's unmixed, uninterrupted, and pure. So that is the love, and that kind of love can only be had with one person. It can't be had with our girlfriends or boyfriends or your boyfriends and girlfriends or whatever your sexual orientation might be. Devotional service is beyond bodily conceptions. It's between the soul and one person. The only person, Purusha, the only Purusha in the entire world, and that person, that Purusha is Krishna. The only person we can have true, unmotivated, uninterrupted love with is Krishna. So by this pastime, Advaita Acharya is teaching us that very important principle, that devotional service does not depend upon our birth and activities. So there are many other pastimes of Advaita Acharya, and we know that later on, Advaita Acharya, he was the one who beseeched Lord Chaitanya to appear through the offering of Ganga water and tulasi leaves and tulasi manjari to his Shalagram Shila on the banks of the Ganges. Now think about this, right? Before he does this, he and Haridas Thakur were discussing what they should do. Now who is Haridas Thakur incarnation of? Lord Brahma. So Brahma, Mahavishnu, Sadashiva are having a discussion on how to bring Krishna to this material world for our deliverance. Not just that. The Mahavishnu and Sadashiva in the form of Advaita Acharya is using Ganga water that emanates from the body of Lord Vishnu, washes the feet of Vamana, comes through all of these heavenly planets, to the higher planetary systems, to the heavenly planets, then comes to this material world, goes on the head of Lord Shiva. From the head of Lord Shiva, then we get the Ganga that Advaita Acharya is now using to offer back to Lord Vishnu. Imagine that scene, right? It's very, 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 very deep and esoteric pastime. So eventually, the Lord agrees to come, and the Lord appears later on, 532 years ago, as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, whose appearance is on the 28th of March. I think that would be 533 years. So, another wonderful pastime. There's so many pastimes about Advaita Acharya. We know that that when Lord Chaitanya appeared, he always used to give utmost reverence and respect to Advaita Acharya. He never chastised Advaita Acharya, because Advaita Acharya was 50 or 52 years older than Lord Chaitanya. Right? So Lord Chaitanya considered him his senior, so he never chastised him. So Advaita Acharya, he was badly longing for the Lord to shower his mercy upon him. So he decides to move out of Navadvip. And before we go to that pastime, once when Lord Chaitanya, he was dancing in Sankirtan, he fainted. Advaita Acharya took the opportunity to take the dust from his lotus feet. And when Lord Chaitanya, he gained consciousness again, and he tried to dance. He said, "I'm not feeling the same mood. That something is wrong. Someone has touched my feet." And everyone revealed it was Advaita Acharya. But what would Lord Chaitanya do? He won't chastise Advaita Acharya. So Advaita Acharya did that so that Lord Chaitanya would chastise him. But Lord Chaitanya didn't chastise him. So Advaita Acharya came up with a plan. How will I get Lord Chaitanya to chastise me? The thing that Lord Chaitanya hates the most is Mayavad philosophy, that we are one with God. Right? That is the reason Lord Chaitanya came, to establish the Dvaita philosophy. Achintya Beda Bed means we are simultaneously one but different. We are similar to the Lord in quality but different in quantity. So he moves out of Navadvip, goes back to Shantipur, starts propounding Mayavad philosophy. 2 minutes. So, he starts propounding Mayavad philosophy. And Lord Chaitanya, when he hears this, he becomes so angry. He goes to that place, pulls Advaita Acharya down from his Vyasasana and starts beating him. And Advaita Acharya is in total ecstasy. He's saying, yes, beat me more, beat me more. Why? Because he's finally achieved the mercy of the Lord. The Lord is chastising him. So that's the nature of the sweet pastimes. We can't understand these pastimes of the Lord so easily unless the Lord gives us the opportunity to understand these pastimes. And these pastimes, we can say them so many times. But if the Lord actually gives us entrance into these pastimes, we can begin to relish them on a much more deeper level. All of these pastimes, we hear it so many times. Every Advaita Acharya appearance, we hear the same pastimes over and over. Janamashmi, we hear the same pastimes. But yet still they are fresh. We still come and we hear them. So that's the nature of the Lord's pastimes. And the nature of Advaita Acharya, he's all auspicious and he's all good. He's the personified form of goodness, personified form of all auspiciousness. Another name for Lord Advaita Acharya is Mangala, means he's all auspiciously good. So we can pray to Sri Advaita Acharya for his mercy so that we can properly serve our Guru and Srila Prabhupada, and by that service we can eventually please Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through pleasing Srila Prabhupada. So with that, we'd like to end today's discussion, and we request everyone to please stand for the beautiful Artik ceremony of our Lordship Shri Shri Paramakarunitai Gaurachandra. And while the Arti is going on, we can pray to Sri Advaita Acharya for his blessings and mercy so that we can gain entrance into the message of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Shri Paramakarunitai Gaurachandra ki jai. Shri Advaita Acharya ki jai.
Gauranitai, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai, Gauranitai, Gauranitai Jaya, Gauranitai. Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashachari Shatarine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Shachari Shatari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Rup Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Hare Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Hare Raya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Nama Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavata Gita Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra, Jaya Paramakaruna Jaya Nitai Gaurachandra. Jaya Panchatadva Jaya Panchatadva Jaya Panchatadva Jaya Panchatadva. Jaya Advaita Charya Jaya Advaita Charya Jaya Advaita Charya Jaya Advaita Charya. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gora Hari Bol Nitai Gora Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gora Hari Bol. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivachikacharya Shrutar Sada Shishrimati Zavangari Sabhaya Charana Bhaktivedanta Jagadguru Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Iskan Viviti Founder-Acharya Zavangars Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivachikacharya Shrutar Sada Shishrimati Zavangars Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Kori Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namachar Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. प्रेम से को श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्रीराध कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कनुराध कुनगीर गोवर्धन की जय। श्री मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री पुरुषोत्तम शेष जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय। श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय। गंगा माया जमुना माया की जय। भक्ति देव की जय। श्रीमती तुलसीदेव महारानी की जय। शुक्रधर्म हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Books Distribution Ki Jai, Brihat Mridanga Ki Jai, Shri Shri Paramakarantai Gaurachandra Ki Jai, Shri Shri Panchatattva Bhagavan Ki Jai, Most Glorious Appearance of Srila Advaita Acharya Ki Jai, Shri Advaita Acharya Ki Jai, Samaveda Gauda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gauda Premanandi. All glories to some lift devotees, all glories to some lift devotees, all glories to some lift devotees, all glories to Shishigura and Shiguranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. So we'd like to thank all the devotees for joining us for this morning's special program in honor of the appearance of Srila Advaita Acharya, and also so very soon also in a week time we'll be celebrating Lord Nityananda Trayodasi, and a few weeks after will be Gaur Purnima festival. So once again we thank everyone who are joining on Zoom, Facebook platforms, and also the temple here. So today's midday offering was sponsored by our dear Raju and his family. So they took the opportunity to sponsor the offering for their lordships for today's midday. So let us all chant one Maha Mantra for the continued blessings to the family. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So thank you all once again. So we encourage you to go for prasadam. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.